My name is Betty, 68 years old, and I live alone in a small suburban house outside Seattle since my husband passed away 5 years ago. My daughter Amanda, 32, just had her first baby 8 months ago, a beautiful girl named Emma. She often asks me to babysit, which I've always happily done. But last month something changed when she asked me to watch Emma for an entire weekend. I told her I couldn't because I had an important doctor's appointment. Her response shocked me. "That's not my problem," she snapped. "If you won't obey me, pack your bags." Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss real-life stories like this one. After my husband Frank died from a sudden heart attack, I adjusted to living alone in our modest 3-bedroom house. The neighborhood had been our home for 30 years, filled with memories of raising Amanda, hosting barbecues, and celebrating holidays. I survived on a modest pension from my years as an elementary school secretary, supplemented by Frank's Social Security benefits. My relationship with Amanda had always been complicated. From the moment she was born, I devoted myself entirely to her happiness. I gave up pursuing my dream of becoming a teacher to stay home with her during her early years. When she started school, I took the secretary position because it allowed me to match her schedule, always being available for pickup school events and sick days. Amanda was a challenging child from the start. She had strong opinions about everything from the color of her sippy cup to which classmates could attend her birthday parties. As a toddler, her tantrums were legendary in our neighborhood. I remember one incident when she was 4, lying on the floor of the grocery store screaming because I wouldn't buy the sugary cereal with cartoon characters. Rather than setting firm boundaries, I often gave in, telling myself it was easier than dealing with her outbursts. Frank was more strict, trying to establish consequences for her behavior, but I frequently undermined his efforts. "She's just sensitive," I would say, or "she'll grow out of it." He would shake his head and tell me, "Betty, you're not doing her any favors by not teaching her that the world doesn't revolve around her." I wish I had listened to him more. As Amanda grew into a teenager, her controlling nature became more refined. She didn't throw tantrums anymore, but she mastered the art of emotional manipulation. If I tried setting boundaries, she would give me the silent treatment sometimes for days. I couldn't bear her rejection, so I continued the pattern of giving in to keep peace. When she met Tyler in college, I was hopeful. He seemed kind, thoughtful, and grounded, the opposite of her previous boyfriends, who had been as demanding as she was. They married when Amanda was 26, and Tyler quickly became part of our family. He was always respectful toward me and Frank, bringing thoughtful gifts for holidays and remembering our birthdays without prompting. However, I soon noticed a troubling pattern. During family gatherings, whenever Amanda behaved disrespectfully toward me or made unreasonable demands, Tyler remained silent. He would give me apologetic glances but never challenged her behavior. I suspected he had learned, as I had, that keeping Amanda happy was the easiest path. When Amanda announced her pregnancy last year, I was overjoyed. After losing Frank, I had felt adrift without a clear purpose. The idea of becoming a grandmother gave me a new identity, a new role to fill. The moment I held tiny Emma in the hospital just hours after her birth, I fell completely in love with her button nose, wispy blonde hair, and tiny fingers that wrapped tightly around my thumb. Over the following 8 months, I became deeply involved in Emma's care. Amanda called me nearly every day asking for help. Some days it was just for a couple of hours while she went to a hair appointment or met friends for lunch. Other times, she would drop Emma off in the morning and not return until evening. There were even several weekends when Emma stayed overnight with me while Amanda and Tyler attended weddings or took short trips. I never asked for payment. How could I? Emma was my granddaughter, and I treasured every moment with her. I loved singing the same lullabies to her that I had once sung to Amanda, watching her discover her toes and seeing her personality emerge as she began to smile and coo. What I didn't tell Amanda was that my own health had been declining. My blood pressure had been creeping up over the past year, and my doctor had increased my medication twice. The arthritis in my knees had worsened, making it painful to carry Emma up and down the stairs. Some nights after a full day of childcare, I would soak in a hot bath with tears streaming down my face from exhaustion and pain. But I kept these struggles to myself. Amanda had enough on her plate as a new mother, I reasoned. Besides, she had always viewed me as unshakable, the mom who could handle anything. I didn't want to shatter that image or give her a reason to keep Emma away from me. So I pushed through the pain, took my medications faithfully, and never mentioned when Emma's weight made my knees scream in protest. That was our arrangement until everything changed with one phone call. It was a Tuesday evening in April when my phone rang just as I was finishing dinner. Amanda's name flashed on the screen, and I answered with a smile, expecting to hear about Emma's latest milestone. "Mom, Tyler and I need you to take Emma this weekend," she said without preamble. "From Friday evening until Sunday night. We're going to that resort on Lake Chelan that we've been wanting to try. They had a last-minute cancellation." My heart sank. I had an important medical appointment on Saturday morning that I'd been waiting 6 weeks to get. My regular doctor had referred me to a cardiologist after noticing some concerning symptoms during my last checkup. I had been experiencing occasional chest pain, shortness of breath, and fatigue that seemed worse than my usual tiredness. "I'm sorry, sweetie, but I can't this weekend," I said carefully. "I have a doctor's appointment on Saturday morning that I can't miss. It's with a heart specialist. Dr. Martinez is concerned about some symptoms I've been having." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Then Amanda's voice came back noticeably cooler. "A doctor's appointment. Can't you reschedule it?" This is the first real getaway Tyler and I have had since Emma was born. I took a deep breath. "I've been waiting 6 weeks for this appointment, Amanda. The cardiologist is very busy and my doctor thinks it's important that I get checked out soon. I've been having chest pains." "Mom." Her voice took on that tone she'd perfected as a teenager, a mixture of impatience and disappointment. "You've always been a worrier. Remember when you thought you had skin cancer and it was just a weird tan line? I'm sure this is nothing serious." "This is different," I tried to explain. "Dr. Martinez wouldn't have referred me if she wasn't concerned. My blood pressure has been really high lately, and with your father's history of heart problems." "Everyone has high blood pressure these days," Amanda interrupted. "It's probably just stress. You know what would help a nice weekend with your granddaughter." I felt my own frustration rising. "Amanda, I would love to have Emma any other weekend. Just not this one. Maybe you could ask one of your friends to help out. What about Stephanie? She's always talking about how cute Emma is." "I'm not leaving my baby with Stephanie," she scoffed. "She doesn't know Emma's routine like you do." "Then maybe you could postpone your trip by 1 week. I'm completely free next weekend." Her voice grew colder. "The resort doesn't have any openings next weekend. This was a rare cancellation. I can't believe you're being so difficult about this, after everything I've done for you." This caught me off guard. "Everything you've done for me?" "Yes. Letting you be so involved with Emma. Giving you something to do since Dad died. I know how lonely you've been." Her words stung like a slap. She was framing my countless hours of free childcare as some kind of favor to me. "I love Emma," I said quietly. "And I'm happy to help you whenever I can, but this appointment is important for my health." "Fine," she snapped. "I'll figure something else out. Don't worry about it." Her tone clearly indicated that I should in fact worry about it very much. "Amanda, please try to understand. I have to go. Emma needs her bath." And with that, she hung up. I sat at my kitchen table, still holding the phone, feeling a mixture of guilt, confusion, and hurt washing over me. Had I done something wrong by prioritizing my health this one time? The rational part of me knew I hadn't, but decades of putting Amanda first made me doubt myself. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, replaying the conversation and imagining alternative scenarios. Maybe I could go to the appointment and then immediately drive to Amanda's to pick up Emma. But what if the cardiologist wanted to run tests? What if I wasn't feeling well afterward? It wouldn't be safe to care for a baby. Maybe I could offer to pay for a professional babysitter for them. But would Amanda accept that she had always been particular about who could watch Emma? By morning, my eyes were gritty from lack of sleep and my chest felt tight with anxiety. I took my blood pressure, wincing at the elevated numbers on the monitor. This conflict with Amanda wasn't helping my health situation at all. Over the next 2 days, the pressure from Amanda intensified like a slow-building storm. My phone buzzed constantly with text messages, each one more manipulative than the last. "Emma kept looking at your picture today and saying, 'Nana, I think she really misses you.' Tyler and I haven't had a single night away since becoming parents. We're so exhausted. I know you wouldn't let us down, Mom. You've always been the one person we can count on." Each message twisted the knife of guilt a little deeper. I found myself staring at my phone fingers hovering over the keyboard, tempted to give in just to restore peace. But then I would feel a twinge in my chest or become winded walking up my porch steps, and I knew I couldn't ignore my health concerns. On Thursday afternoon, my phone rang with Tyler's name on the display. This was unusual. In all the years since he had married Amanda, he had rarely called me directly unless it was a birthday or to coordinate a surprise for Amanda. "Betty. Hi, it's Tyler." His voice sounded strained, uncomfortable. "Hello, Tyler. Is everything all right?" He cleared his throat. "Yes, everything's fine. I just wanted to talk to you about this weekend. Amanda mentioned you have a doctor's appointment." "Yes, I do. It's an important one with a cardiologist. I've been having some concerning symptoms." "I see." He paused. "Is there any way you could move it? This trip is really important to Amanda. She's been so stressed with the baby, and I think she really needs this break." I felt disappointed that he was taking this approach. "Tyler, I understand that Amanda needs a break. Being a new mom is incredibly difficult, but this appointment is about my heart health. The earliest they could reschedule would be 2 months from now." "2 months?" He sounded genuinely surprised. "That's a long time." "Yes, that's why I don't want to miss this one. The doctor was concerned enough to make the referral." "I understand." His voice softened slightly. "It's just that Amanda has really been looking forward to this. Well, you know how she gets when she doesn't get her way." This struck me as odd. It was the closest Tyler had ever come to acknowledging Amanda's difficult behavior. "Yes, I do know," I replied carefully. "But Tyler, this is about my health. Surely Amanda can understand that." He sighed. "I'll talk to her again. Maybe we can find another solution." After we hung up, I noticed that Amanda had stopped responding to my texts asking about Emma. When I sent a message specifically asking for a photo of my granddaughter, I received no response. The silent treatment, another tactic from her teenage years, was in full effect. I called my doctor's office to inquire about rescheduling just to be sure I wasn't being stubborn. The receptionist confirmed what I already knew. "Mrs. Wilson, Dr. Patel is booking 2 months out right now. We were lucky to get you in earlier because Dr. Martinez marked your referral as higher priority. If you cancel this Saturday, the next available slot would be in late June. That evening, my longtime friend Gloria came over for our weekly card game. After one look at my face, she set down her purse and said, "Okay, what's wrong?" "You look terrible." I told her everything. The tears I had been holding back finally spilling over. Gloria had known Amanda since she was a baby and had witnessed her difficult behavior firsthand over the years. "Betty," Gloria said firmly, taking my hands in hers, "you are not wrong to prioritize your health. What if something happens to you because you delayed this appointment? Then who would be there for Emma in the long run?" "Amanda acts like I'm being selfish," I whispered. "Selfish? You've given that girl everything since the day she was born. One weekend where you say no doesn't erase decades of saying yes." She squeezed my hands. "Your health comes first. Period." That night, I woke at 2 a.m. with a sharp pain in my chest that radiated to my left arm. It lasted only a few minutes but left me shaken and even more certain that I couldn't miss my appointment. The next day, Friday morning, I called a highly rated babysitting service in Amanda's neighborhood and offered to pay for a professional sitter for the weekend. I texted Amanda the information explaining that the service did background checks and all their sitters were certified in infant CPR. Her response was immediate and cutting. "I'm not leaving my baby with strangers. If you cared about Emma at all, you wouldn't suggest such a thing." I was hurt by the implication that hiring a professional caregiver somehow meant I didn't care about Emma. More concerning was how Amanda was twisting the situation to make me the villain. That afternoon, my sister-in-law Janet called. "Betty, is everything okay? Amanda called me this morning very upset, saying you refused to help with Emma this weekend because you'd rather go to some routine checkup." My heart sank. Amanda was spreading her version of events to the extended family. "Janet, it's not a routine checkup. It's an appointment with a cardiologist. I've been having chest pains and shortness of breath. My doctor is concerned it might be heart-related, especially given Frank's history." "Oh." Janet sounded genuinely surprised. "Amanda didn't mention that. She just said you were being difficult." I spent the next hour explaining the situation to Janet, feeling humiliated that I had to justify my medical needs and hurt that Amanda would misrepresent the situation to family members. By Friday evening, the stress had taken a physical toll. My blood pressure reading was alarmingly high, and the chest tightness had returned. I took my medication and sat quietly in my recliner, trying to practice the deep breathing exercises my doctor had recommended for stress. My phone remained silent. No updates about Emma, no photos, no communication at all from Amanda. The silence felt like punishment, a tactic she had refined over years of getting her way. The following Wednesday, almost a week after our initial phone conversation, I heard a car door slam outside my house. Through the front window, I saw Amanda and Tyler walking up my driveway with no Emma in sight. My heart raced as I opened the door. Was this a peace offering? Had they come to understand my position? Amanda brushed past me into the living room without a greeting, her face set in a hard expression I recognized from countless teenage confrontations. Tyler followed, giving me an uncomfortable nod that did nothing to ease my growing anxiety. "Amanda, Tyler, this is a surprise," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Where's Emma?" "With Tyler's mother," Amanda replied coldly. "She's actually reliable." The barb stung, but I tried not to react. "Would you like some coffee or tea?" "We're not here for social hour, Mom." Amanda remained standing, arms crossed tightly across her chest. "We need to talk about your priorities and what they mean for our family." I lowered myself into my recliner, suddenly feeling every one of my 68 years. My priorities, Amanda. My health has to be a priority. The cardiologist confirmed I have some concerning symptoms that need monitoring and treatment. There's always something with you, Mom. A pain here, a worry there. Meanwhile, Tyler and I are drowning trying to balance work and a baby without support. I've watched Emma multiple times every week since she was born, I reminded her gently. One weekend where I had a legitimate conflict doesn't erase that. It was the principal. Amanda's voice rose. We needed you and you weren't there, just like when I was 16 and wanted to go to Sarah's lake house, but you said I couldn't because you needed help with that stupid church fundraiser. I was stunned by the comparison and the fact that she was still harboring resentment about an incident from 16 years ago. That's hardly the same thing, Amanda. It's exactly the same. You've always put your needs before mine, and now you're doing it with Emma too. Tyler shifted uncomfortably but remained silent, staring at the carpet. That's not fair, I said, feeling a lump forming in my throat. I love Emma. I would do anything for her, but I can't help her if I'm not healthy. Amanda's face hardened further. Well, we've made a decision. If you can't be there when we need you, then we need to reevaluate this arrangement. What arrangement? I asked, a sense of dread building in my stomach. This house for one thing, Amanda said, gesturing around the living room where she had taken her first steps, where we had celebrated Christmas mornings, where Frank and I had built our life together. My confusion must have shown on my face because Amanda continued with a hint of triumph in her voice. Don't you remember, after Dad died, you transferred the house into my name to help us qualify for our mortgage? Technically, this is my house now. It was true. When Amanda and Tyler had been struggling to purchase their first home, I had signed over my house to Amanda's name as additional collateral for their loan. Frank had always handled our finances, and in my grief after his death, I hadn't fully understood the implications. Amanda had assured me it was just a formality that nothing would change regarding my living situation. Are you threatening to evict me from my own home because I went to a doctor's appointment? My voice came out as a whisper. Amanda's chin lifted defiantly. If you won't obey me and be there when we need you, then yes, you should start packing your bags. And you can forget about seeing Emma too. The room seemed to spin around me. The thought of losing my home and access to my granddaughter over this felt like a physical blow. I pressed a hand to my chest, feeling the familiar tightness intensify. Amanda, please, I managed to say. The cardiologist says I might have a condition that could lead to heart failure if it's not addressed. I need to take care of my health so I can be here for Emma long term. That's not my problem, she replied coldly. If you cared about Emma and me, you'd prioritize us over some vague health concerns. I looked to Tyler, hoping for some support or intervention. For a moment he met my eyes, and I saw conflict there. Can't we find another solution? He asked, finally breaking his silence. Your mom has helped us a lot, Amanda. No, Amanda cut him off sharply. She's always been able to make time before. Taking care of Emma is her responsibility as a grandmother. Responsibility, I echoed, finding my voice again. Amanda, I love watching Emma because I love her, not because it's my obligation. Grandparents aren't built-in babysitters. Fine, Amanda snapped, grabbing her purse. If that's how you feel, we'll find someone who actually cares about family. Come on, Tyler. Tyler hesitated, then followed her to the door. Before leaving, he turned back with an apologetic glance but said nothing. The door slammed behind them, the sound echoing through the house like a final judgment. I sat frozen in my chair, my whole body trembling, unable to process what had just happened. My own daughter had just threatened to make me homeless and cut me off from my granddaughter because I had prioritized a critical health appointment over her vacation plans. As the shock began to wear off, the tears came first as a trickle and then as a flood that I couldn't control. I sobbed until my throat was raw and my eyes swollen, feeling more alone than I had even after Frank died. That night was one of the longest of my life. Sleep eluded me completely as I moved through the house like a ghost touching family photos and mementos, wondering if I would soon be forced to pack them away. I found myself in Amanda's old bedroom, which I had maintained almost exactly as she left it when she moved out for college. Sitting on the edge of her twin bed, I opened the photo album from her childhood years. Page after page showed a smiling little girl with blonde pigtails, often with me kneeling beside her, looking at her with undisguised adoration. When had things gone so wrong? Had I created this situation by never setting boundaries, by always putting her wants above my needs? Frank had warned me that we were raising Amanda to expect the world to revolve around her, but I had dismissed his concerns. Now, at 68, I was facing the consequences of those parenting choices. My daughter viewed me not as a person with my own needs and health concerns, but as a resource to be used and discarded when inconvenient. By dawn, exhaustion had given way to a strange clarity. I couldn't continue this way. Something had to change, not just for my physical health, but for my emotional well-being too. I called Gloria as soon as it was a reasonable hour. "She threatened to evict you." Gloria's voice rose in disbelief after I recounted the previous day's confrontation. "Over a doctor's appointment, Betty. That's elder abuse." "I don't think it rises to that level," I said, though I wasn't entirely sure. "But it feels so cruel. I've given her everything, Gloria. Everything." "Including the deed to your house, apparently," Gloria said with a sigh. "Betty, you can't fix a heart condition by breaking your own heart. You need to stand up for yourself." She was right. At my cardiologist appointment on Saturday, Dr. Patel had confirmed that I had the early stages of congestive heart failure, likely exacerbated by my high blood pressure and stress. He had prescribed medication and strongly advised reducing stress in my life. "Your heart is working too hard," he had told me. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline make your heart work even harder. For your health, you need to find ways to eliminate unnecessary stress. The irony wasn't lost on me. The very appointment Amanda had wanted me to miss might have saved my life, and now the stress she was causing could potentially worsen my condition. With Gloria's encouragement, I began making phone calls that day. First to a real estate agent who could help me find an affordable apartment to rent, then to a lawyer to understand my rights regarding the house. Although I had signed over the deed, there might be legal protections for me given the circumstances. Next, I called my bank to assess my financial situation. Between my pension, Social Security, and the modest savings Frank and I had accumulated, I could afford a small apartment, though it would be tight. That evening, I sat down at my computer and composed a lengthy email to Amanda. I chose email rather than a face-to-face conversation because I wanted to express myself clearly without interruption or intimidation. I detailed the results of my cardiologist appointment, explaining the diagnosis and treatment plan in straightforward terms. I described how her treatment of me, including the threat of eviction and withholding Emma, had affected both my emotional and physical health. I acknowledged my role in creating our unhealthy dynamic. I realize now that by always saying yes to your demands, even at the expense of my own well-being, I taught you that my needs didn't matter. That was my mistake, and I'm sorry for not setting healthier boundaries earlier. I explained that I would be looking for my own apartment and that I would no longer be available for unlimited unpaid childcare. I love Emma with all my heart, and I want to be part of her life. But I need to be a grandmother, not an on-demand nanny. Moving forward, I'm happy to have scheduled visits with Emma and occasionally watch her for agreed-upon times with advance notice. I concluded by expressing hope for a healthier relationship in the future. I will always love you, Amanda. You're my daughter, and nothing will change that. But love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment or threats. I deserve respect just as you do. After reading it over twice, I hit send. Then I forwarded the same email to Tyler and to my brother Robert, who had always been close to Amanda. I wanted others to understand my side of the story, especially given Amanda's tendency to present events in a way that cast her as the victim. With those steps taken, I took my new heart medication, practiced the breathing exercises Dr. Patel had recommended for stress management, and slept soundly for the first time in weeks. Amanda's immediate response to my email came in the form of angry text messages calling me overdramatic and selfish, and accusing me of weaponizing my health to make her feel guilty. I didn't respond, having said everything I needed to say in my email. To my surprise, Tyler called the next morning. "Betty, I wanted to apologize." He began, his voice low, as if he was calling from somewhere Amanda couldn't overhear. "I should have spoken up when Amanda threatened you. That wasn't right." "Thank you, Tyler," I said, genuinely touched by his acknowledgement. "Why didn't you say something at the time?" He sighed heavily. "It's complicated. When Amanda gets like that, it's easier to just go along with it. But after reading your email about your heart condition, I couldn't stay silent. My own dad had heart problems. It's serious." "Yes, it is," I agreed. "And the stress of our current relationship isn't helping." "I understand. I'll try to talk to Amanda once she cools down. And whatever happens with the house and everything, I want you to know that I value everything you've done for us and for Emma." His words provided some comfort, but I continued with my plans to find a new place to live. Over the next 2 weeks, I viewed several apartments, eventually finding a small one-bedroom unit in a senior living community just 10 minutes from Gloria's house. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean, safe, and within my budget. During those 2 weeks, I heard nothing from Amanda. The silence was painful, but also somewhat peaceful. For the first time in decades, I wasn't arranging my schedule around her needs or rushing to respond to her demands. I received supportive calls from my brother Robert and his children, who were appalled by Amanda's behavior once they heard the full story. Robert offered financial help if I needed it to secure a new place. "Frank would be turning in his grave if he knew Amanda was threatening to make you homeless," he told me. "You know our door is always open if you need a place to stay." A month after the confrontation, I had signed a lease on the apartment and begun packing my belongings, sorting through decades of accumulated possessions to determine what would fit in my new, smaller space. It was an emotional process, letting go of furniture that Frank and I had chosen together, books we had read aloud to each other, the dining table where we had hosted countless family meals. I was in the middle of boxing up kitchen items when a knock came at the door. I opened it to find Amanda standing there, her face a complex mixture of anger and uncertainty. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "You're really moving," she finally asked, looking past me at the stacked boxes and half-empty cabinets. "Yes," I replied simply. "I found an apartment in Cedar Ridge." "That's on the other side of town." "It is." She crossed her arms defensively. "So you're just giving up on us on Emma." I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm for my heart's sake. "I'm not giving up on anyone, Amanda. I'm taking care of my health and removing myself from a situation that has become harmful to me." "Harmful," she scoffed. "That's dramatic." "Is it You threatened to make me homeless and keep me from seeing my granddaughter because I went to a doctor's appointment instead of babysitting. She looked away, unable to meet my eyes. I was upset. I didn't mean it. It felt like you meant it, and it's not the first time you've used threats or the silent treatment to control me. She started to protest, but I held up a hand. Please let me finish. Amanda, I love you. I always have and always will. But I can't continue in a relationship where my needs, even my health needs, are consistently dismissed. To my surprise, her eyes filled with tears. But I need you, Mom. Being a mother is so much harder than I thought. Some days I feel like I'm drowning. For the first time, I noticed how tired she looked. There were dark circles under her eyes, and her hair, usually perfectly styled, was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Motherhood is overwhelming, I agreed, softening slightly. But treating me like a servant rather than your mother isn't the solution. Have you and Tyler considered hiring regular help? We can't afford it, she admitted. Have you asked Tyler's parents to help more regularly? She hesitated. His mom works full-time and his dad isn't comfortable with babies. I nodded, understanding better now. Amanda, I'm happy to help with Emma. I love her and I love being her grandmother. But it needs to be on terms that respect my health and well-being too. What does that mean exactly? It means scheduled visits, not last-minute demands. It means understanding that I have doctor's appointments and my own life. It means treating me like a person, not a convenience. She was quiet for a long moment, then gestured to the boxes. Do you really have to move? Yes, I said firmly. I need my own space where I don't have to worry about being evicted if I don't meet your expectations. Another tear slipped down her cheek. I've really messed up, haven't I? It was the closest thing to an admission of wrongdoing I had heard from her in years. We both contributed to this situation, I said gently. But yes, your behavior that day crossed a line. She nodded slowly. Tyler said the same thing. He's been upset with me since reading your email. He says I treat you like staff, not family. And what do you think? I asked carefully. She looked down at her hands. I think maybe I've been taking you for granted. A lot. And I'm sorry, Mom. I really am. It wasn't a complete acknowledgement of everything that had gone wrong between us, but it was a start. We talked for another hour, setting preliminary boundaries and expectations. Amanda agreed to give me notice before asking for childcare help and to respect my right to decline. I promised to continue being involved in Emma's life and to help when I reasonably could. As she was leaving, Amanda turned back with a hesitant expression. Mom, are you really okay? Your heart, I mean. I appreciated that she finally asked. I'm following the doctor's orders. The medication is helping and reducing stress is a big part of my treatment plan. She nodded, looking somewhat ashamed. I'm sorry I didn't take it seriously before. Thank you for saying that. She gave me a brief, awkward hug before leaving the first physical contact we'd had in weeks. It wasn't a complete reconciliation, but it was a step in the right direction. 6 months have passed since that day, and much has changed in my relationship with Amanda and my own life. I've settled into my apartment at Cedar Ridge, which has turned out to be a blessing in disguise. The community offers activities and social connections I didn't realize I was missing. I've joined a book club that meets weekly and started volunteering at the local library, reading to children during story hour. My health has improved significantly. My blood pressure is now under better control, and the symptoms that were concerning Dr. Patel have diminished with medication and lifestyle changes. The reduction in stress has made a noticeable difference in how I feel day to day. As for Amanda and Emma, we've established a new routine that works much better for everyone. I see Emma twice a week on scheduled days, usually Tuesday mornings and Saturday afternoons. Occasionally, I still help out in emergency situations, but Amanda now asks respectfully rather than demands, and she accepts when I sometimes need to decline. The first time I said no after our confrontation was a tense moment. Amanda had called asking if I could take Emma the following day because her regular sitter had canceled. I already had a doctor's follow-up appointment scheduled. "I'm sorry, Amanda, but I can't tomorrow. I have a cardiology appointment at 10. There was a pause, and I braced myself for anger or manipulation. Instead, she simply said, "Okay, I understand. Is your appointment routine or is there something concerning?" The simple acknowledgement of my medical needs nearly brought me to tears. "Just routine follow-up," I assured her. "Good. I hope it goes well. I'll call around and find another solution for tomorrow." That small exchange represented enormous growth in our relationship. For perhaps the first time, Amanda had respected my boundary without punishment or guilt-tripping. Tyler has also changed over these months. He's become more vocal in family discussions and more involved in parenting decisions. When Amanda started to slip back into old patterns during a family dinner suggesting I should babysit every weekend, Tyler gently but firmly intervened. "Betty has been clear about her availability, Amanda. We need to respect that and plan accordingly." The look of surprise on Amanda's face was priceless, but she didn't argue. Later, Tyler told me he had been doing a lot of thinking about healthy family dynamics and realized his silence had enabled Amanda's controlling behavior. The house situation remains somewhat unresolved. I'm comfortable in my apartment now and have no immediate plans to move. Amanda hasn't mentioned selling the house, and my lawyer advised me that there might be legal remedies available should she ever try to sell it without my consent, given the circumstances under which I transferred the deed. Most importantly, I've reclaimed my sense of self-worth. For too long, I defined myself solely through my roles as Amanda's mother and Emma's grandmother, believing that my value came from what I could do for them. Now I understand that while those relationships are precious to me, they can't be the entirety of my identity. I've discovered joy in small pleasures that are just for me: morning walks with other residents at Cedar Ridge, weekly coffee dates with Gloria, even taking an art class at the community center. I'm building a life that honors my needs while still making room for the people I love. The journey hasn't been easy. There have been setbacks and difficult conversations along the way. Amanda still occasionally falls into old patterns of entitlement, and I sometimes struggle with guilt when I need to say no. But we're both trying, and that counts for something. If you're in a situation similar to mine, whether with adult children, friends, or partners who don't respect your boundaries, please remember this. Loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing your health or dignity. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for healthy relationships. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, both for yourself and others, is to say no. Sometimes the deepest form of love is having the courage to say no, not just for yourself, but for the future of that relationship. Would you dare to set boundaries to reclaim yourself? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, it's never too late to stand up for yourself, especially when your health and well-being are at stake.